Welcome to episode 7, day-to-day living costs, pets. So this includes animals, including companion animals, other than eligible assistance animals, pet food for animals, other than eligible assistance animals, veterinarian costs and boarding and grooming, other than eligible assistance animals, pet insurance, taxidermy and pet cremations, burials or funerals. I think it's sort of self-explanatory. So if you have an assistance animal and it's been approved by the NDIS, then those costs are covered. My issue with this is, and I've seen people talking about this on grassroots. You've chosen to have a dog. What happens if you get hit by a car tomorrow and become disabled and you've had a dog for 10 years? What are you going to do? Get rid of the dog just because you're disabled now? No. And I think I have some participants, myself personally, I cannot walk my dog. I am not physically capable of walking my dog. I can go for a walk with my husband if he's home and he can hold the lead, but I have to pay for a pet walker. Obviously, I'm not on the NDIS at this point in time, and I have a husband who can walk the dog. But I have multiple people who have animals and that dog needs to be walked, and they can't always do it. And I don't understand why, and that dog needs to be washed, and they're not capable of washing that dog. And yes, you can get a support worker to help you walk that dog. We've had instances where, I've had previous plan managers say, I'm not going to pay for that pet walker to walk that dog unless the participant was with the person. I'm like, well, the participant was able to walk the bloody dog themselves. They wouldn't have paid for it. So that participant has now changed plan managers. But there, and yes, the support worker can
and like
do
again,
it,
everything is so subjective.
Yeah.
Like I've heard so many different plan managers' interpretations of this and delegates, and I like to think of Australia as a country that's built on the concept of a fair go, and there's so many quotes out there. I could get all sappy and hallmark about dogs and being man's best friend. I feel that there's some parts of life that aren't a luxury. They're not just a choice. It's just an everyday expectation that we should be able to have pets and dogs.
But I'm going to say on here, it does not say pet walking.
No.
It does not say walking your dog, and it says pet grooming. And grooming and washing a dog, in my opinion, are two different things.
I think a lot of this, if we...
I know you're looking at me.
I am looking at you.
But a lot of this...
I'm waiting for your thoughts.
It comes down, when we hear about the concept of the pub test, it's probably not the greatest way to govern a country because you're not always given all the context and all the information. Everyone's an individual and there's always more below the surface. And if we hear that, that saying, you don't judge a book on its cover, that's exactly what we're doing with the pub test. Yeah. And when we're looking at these sorts of issues where having a pet or a dog, yes, the everyday costs, dog food and everything like that, it should be a person's personal expense because that part is sort of a choice.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And there's general benefits to pet ownership, but a person shouldn't be precluded from pet ownership because of their disability.
Yeah.
Or an animal shouldn't end up in the pound or needing to be rehomed because that person can't look after that animal because of their disability. I'll get more into some other side effects of this later, but I'd love to know how many people with the disability have had to consider rehoming their animals because of this list.
Well, I know many that had rehomed their animals before this list.
Yep,
because of specific people not paying for staff. And I'm going to say, because I work with predominantly psychosocial disability, sometimes the people I work with, their pets are the only thing that they have. I have one participant, the only reason that participant is alive is because of his dog.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen when his dog goes, because that's the only thing that's keeping him
100%.
like- waking up the next morning.
I 100% like animals more than I do humans.
Yeah.
But like, even when we're looking at the rollout of like some of these decisions, having things so rigid, it risks losing people's rights and like the same opportunities and choices that most of us have. And like, to be honest, I find some aspects of the list quite patronising. And I know that it's good to be clear, but like there should be, we deserve to have real choice. And
Well, the thing that gets me about the list is because participants have asked us. Now, I have asked multiple participants, and I'm yet to find one single participant that has asked for this bloody yes and no list. I can tell you now, not one.
And like, I think though it's probably important to specify what's the difference between an assistance animal and a companion animal and a therapy animal, and what are the expectations around those three. So like, if you're looking at an assistance animal, it's performing a specific function, so it's helping to basically reduce the need for like a support worker, or like, it can be very expensive to train an assistance animal, and often they have to like sit a specific test, like a PAT test.
Yeah.
A therapy animal is there to help with, say, emotional regulation. Like, I know that there has to be evidence-based research for that, but the agency is not choosing to recognise that. And like, a companion animal is just like your everyday dog.
Yes.
I guess from my perspective, from a plan management perspective, assistance animal in the plan, everything's covered, nice and simple. What you raise is completely valid though, you know, in terms of pet ownership and the challenges around, you know, then having, you know, the dog being walked and the dog's well-being maintained. I guess where we find a challenge in the plan manager space is, where does that fit? There's no line item for dog walking. There's no line item for dog
and
walking.
I'd say to people, like, literally, I would just say to people, just get your support worker to do it. Like, get a support worker who knows how to walk a dog, and it will help you walk the dog and help you wash the dog. And if on that particular day you're not up to walking the dog, let the support worker take a walk. It's no different than them helping you prepare your food or wash your clothes. It's no different.
This is sort of a personal rant, but like, when you look at the NDIS, it's essentially an insurance scheme. Now, whenever I'm signing up for an insurance policy or trying to get a general cover or protection, at least I know what I'm covered for.
Yeah.
But there's always choice.
Yeah.
And you've got other options.
Yeah.
We're stuck here. Like, you get a disability, this is your option, unless you've got another insurance policy in place. Now, there's other schemes in New South Wales, like iCare and the like, that take a different approach to insurance. And at least there's more flexibility. Like, there's general protections and limitations to stop like dodgy actions. But there's still choice. I feel that we're going a little bit too far the other way.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is where you need to look at ways that you can use services flexibly.
That's right, because you can put a load of washing on.
Yep.
While that load is washing, take the dog for a walk, maybe give it a bath, bring the dog back, hang the load of washing on the line.
Yep.
You know, it's all within the scope of the support worker.
Though the problem is, there's so many different people and different interpretations. Like, I don't know about you, but like, me as a provider, I always I'm always antsy and like trying my best to do the right thing, and there's so much to take into account. And I really feel for plan managers, like support coordinators, like the maximum rate's being capped for like 5 years. And like, how much is it a month that you're paid to go through and have all this in-depth knowledge? And
$104.45.
yeah. how many invoices on average do you have to go through per?
We probably process, we do a couple of $1 million a month.
Yeah.
Now, you've heard like this argument that I've had just about like dogs in loan. There's an amount of interpretation and subjective thinking there. Often participants, we're made to sort of make the final decision as to whether we choose to spend our funding on something or not. That's based on our interpretation, but with these new legislations that come into effect, yes, there's the grace period in regards to debts and fines for 12 months for participants, but they've only allowed 30 days for providers.
Yep.
And like, say you're looking at dog walking, which like they're trying to push the plan managers that aren't like plan managers and support coordinators, we're not able to make decisions as to what participants can choose to use their funding for. We can give advice.
Exactly.
But it's a delegate that's the one that's responsible for saying yes or no, but they're often not able to be contacted.
Yeah.
Now, I don't feel it's fair that a plan manager should be expected to pay back that money to the NDIS because their administrative system's not accessible and aren't able to give clear guidance and like leave participants at financial risk because of this interpretation.
Yeah. I think this is where we, as plan managers, work really, really closely with support coordinators, to understand the context and the situation for supports that might look a little bit outside of the box.
Yeah.
But it just means that we have that context. We can put some notes around that in our system so that if the query does come back from the NDIS, we've got some evidence there to say, well, these are all the considerations, that were taken into account, and this is why, funding was spent that way. So for us, that's really important to have that context.
Yeah.
Helps if you have a good plan manager that you can talk to.
And a great relationship with your support coordinators.
But even so, it's putting like undue pressure and stress on participants.
Absolutely.
And service providers. And I think a lot of these terms of engagement have become quite hostile.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, yes, these lists are supposed to bring clarity, but I find that
I'm finding them very murky.
Yeah, no.
I think they're
business as usual.
no more clear.
It's just creating more confusion.
Yeah.
Well,
I know it's creating more confusion because I sat in on a webinar last night, which STA was multiple times. I've spoken to multiple planners, and they don't know. And they say in that webinar, talk to your local LAC or your local planner. And I actually made a comment and said, well, are you going to train them and teach them the answers? Because if we ask them, they don't know. They couldn't answer all the questions. And then they said, talk to your support coordinator. But all they're doing is cutting funding.
Yes.
But
we don't have the hours to be having a conversation about everything.
We're probably going to ranting, but even if we look at the similarities between this list and the draft list that was presented, all the disability representative organisations and a number of, I know that on the announcement they mentioned that there were over 7,000 submissions to the list. How many of those are actually enacted and listened upon, given there's so much similarity?
It's very interesting.
Hair washing.
My
submission.
It's
all right, well, that is the end of episode 7. Thanks for watching.